Good evening. My name is Eric Lindstrom. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the Inland Wetlands Commission meeting for the town of Monroe. Today's September 11th and the time is 7:05 p.m. Will everyone please stand to recite the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we go any further, I'd just like to have a moment of silence since today is September 11th. Thank you. Right now, I'd like to take roll call of the members of the commission and staff present during tonight's hybrid meeting. Please answer here or present, starting with myself, Eric Lindstrom, chairman here. Ryan Kelly, vice chairman, is not here. Rick Smith.
Here.
Jim Stewart, who is a professional engineer, is not here this evening. Benjamin Sabia, secretary.
Here.
Paul Fernandez.
Here.
Kathleen Gallagher, planning and zoning administrator.
Here.
And Andrew Broadman, inland wetland enforcement officer.
Here.
Before we start, I'll read our mission statement and how the meeting will proceed. The Inland Wetland Mission Statement. The objective and purpose of the Inland Wetland Commission is to provide for the overall protection and preservation of the inland wetlands and watercourses within the town of Monroe. The meeting procedure. Please note that this meeting is being conducted utilizing electronic equipment in compliance with State Law Public Act 21-1. As such, this meeting is being recorded and will be available to the public in compliance with state law. If you are attending remotely, please remember to mute your microphone unless speaking. Anyone participating remotely should state their name and title, if applicable, at the outset of each occasion that such person is speaking. All votes taken during which any member of this body are participating remotely shall be taken by roll call unless the vote is unanimous. The chat features will not be utilized nor considered during this meeting. In the normal course of our meeting, we will hear public hearings and other applications. The protocol for public hearings is to have an applicant make a presentation to the commission during which and after which the commission will be asking the applicant questions. I ask the applicant keep their presentations as concise as possible. The commission will then review town staff and other independent comments. The meeting will then be open for public comment. I'll ask that all comments be made to the chair or commission. After any and all comments pro, in opposition, or in a general nature are made, the applicant will be given an opportunity to respond. Please keep comments or questions direct, or a time limit of 3 minutes may be imposed. It is not necessary that the applicant respond, but generally in their best interest to do so. There will be no further opportunity for new questions unless new materials entered in as evidence or testimony during their response. Please keep all comments pro and con specific to the inland wetlands related matters. Other applications that do not involve public hearings will follow a similar format with the exception that there will be no public comments allowed. The meeting follows our published agenda unless otherwise amended. Are there any changes to the agenda? No change. Okay. So first on the agenda, we have regulated activities. So we have an application IWC 2024-8, file 1490, 50 Cambridge Drive. Proposed battery storage system within the upland review area and associated utility connections and apparatus.
Someone's raising your hand. Did we do public participation?
Oh, the general participation. I'm sorry. Yeah, we can skip back to that.
So sorry.
Is this, if you want to come up?
No, he's presenting for 50 Cambridge, but somebody raised their hand on Zoom and I just want to make sure.
Okay. Go ahead. Let's see who. Can't see what that says up there, but is there anybody with a general comment here that has?
Issue.
I'm sorry?
Public issues, yeah. Any new issues?
Anything not related to specific matters at hand this evening?
Yes.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Kelly Hengis Carano, 19 Shoals Road in Monroe, Connecticut.
Okay.
I have a question for the people of the Inland Wetlands Commission and the administrator. I was just wondering who lives in Monroe and who lives in the state of Connecticut if you don't live in Monroe?
I don't know, we all live in Monroe.
Requires it.
It's part of the requirement of being on the commission.
Everyone on all of our commissions and boards live in the town of Monroe. They all have to be residents. Staff are not required to be residents.
Okay, so if you are the administrator as you are, do you live in Monroe?
I do not live in Monroe, but I'm not going to give up public information about where I live, but I do live in a neighboring town.
Okay, so you don't live in Carmel, New York any longer, correct?
Again, personal information being disclosed in a public forum, I will say makes me very uncomfortable, but I will also say I never lived in Carmel, New York. That's never been a residency of mine.
Okay, that was public information on LinkedIn, and I just wanted to make sure that everybody did live in Monroe. So thank you for answering my questions.
I did work in Carmel, Monroe. I'm happy to state where I worked. I have no problem with that, but yeah, personal information as to my residency. But I do live in a neighboring town in the state of Connecticut, and I've lived in Connecticut for many, many years.
That's fine. I wasn't sure about the rules for everyone, like I said, and I just wanted to make sure, positive sure I wasn't looking for anything other than state of Connecticut or Monroe. That was it. Thank you.
Anybody else? I see somebody with their hand raised.
It's carried.
That was her. Anyone else? Okay. Moving back to the application, IWC 2024-8, file 1490, 50 Cambridge Drive, proposed battery storage system within the upland review area and associated utility connections and apparatus. Cambridge Drive, RE LLC owner, BL Companies representative.
We do have a representative for the applicant. I believe it's Gareth Wilson from BL Companies presenting, but before he does that, I'd like to read into the record the exhibits.
Okay.
Exhibit number 1 is the application and plan set prepared by BL Companies, and it is dated 8/26 of 24. Exhibit number 2 is the letter to Aquarian, dated, again, BL Companies, prepared by BL Companies, and dated 8/27. Exhibit number 3 is the preliminary review, which was prepared by me, Andrew Brotman, dated 9/5/24, and that's the preliminary review. And those are the only exhibits we have. And I believe it's Gareth Wilson who's going to be presenting.
Correct.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
This is Greg Carey with RWE Clean Energy. Before Gareth begins his presentation, I was hoping to make a quick introduction and overview of RWE Clean Energy, if that is okay with you.
Are you part of this application? Okay.
I am.
Okay.
And we have also 2 other members of our team from RWE attending tonight as well, Zach Poston and David Rains.
Sure. If you guys want to make a opening comment, go ahead.
Sure. I just wanted to give you a little bit of background of who we are. RWE Clean Energy is a national and, in fact, international renewable energy company. We develop wind, solar, and battery storage projects across the country. We've got over 2,000 employees in the United States. Excuse me, our headquarters is in Valhalla, New York, but we have a local office in Danbury. Zach Poston, who's there tonight, works in our Danbury office. The battery storage unit that we're developing is part of a program that's in conjunction with the Connecticut Green Bank and the Energy Storage Solutions Program. And we've been lucky enough in the last 2 years, 2022 and 2023, to be named the top performer by the Connecticut Green Bank. The battery unit that we're proposing for 50 Cambridge Drive really serves two purposes fundamentally. One is the battery is connected to the building owner's meter, utility meter, and has the capacity of providing emergency backup service in the event of loss of power. The battery also is a source of energy through the grid in the event of an outage in Monroe or in the surrounding communities. It provides Eversource with an ability to draw power from the battery and to reduce or limit that the outage, may occur. And it also helps them meet peak demands. So when customers come home, turn on all the utilities, the washer, dryer, their air conditioning, there's obviously a surge in demand. And then the power from these batteries are going to help them meet that demand. I will tell you that earlier this summer, we did meet with Kathleen Gallagher and some other department heads in Monroe, including the fire marshal, and gave a little bit more of an in-depth presentation. But I just wanted to provide you with that background information before Gareth begins his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to share this on the screen. Oh, thank you for your time tonight. My name is Gareth Wilson, project manager at BL Companies in Hartford. Don't hear me okay? So our site's at 50 Cambridge Drive, as my clients just alluded to, that there's a lot of especially green benefits to this project. The civil engineering aspect, which I cover, is actually relatively small. It is really.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Is that better?
We can hear you here, but appreciate it because it's on.
I have to pull it closer to you.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
Is that better?
Is it on?
It says. Hello?
No, it's not on.
Doesn't sound.
I don't think that mic is supposed to actually project into the crowd. It's mostly for the Zoom content because it's so small.
It is.
You should get something.
Isn't it coming out of these?
I think, I'm not quite sure if that comes out of those speakers.
It speaks into the mic. I mean, I can even hear myself being amplified.
I'll speak louder, is that okay?
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
sorry. Sometimes badly spoken, so. So the project is relatively straightforward from a civil engineering point of view. It consists of a couple of concrete pads surrounded by fenced enclosure throughout the site. Obviously, we have wetlands on the site and adjacent to the this is the existing building occupied by Axel Plastics. We looked at the potential locations under we knew that this area over here was wetlands, so we didn't want anything along this part over here. The client has a lot of land to the north, which is currently unused. So we first proposed the wetlands tucked in where my hand is shown there. After we did some wetlands investigation, after request of the staff, discovered this side of this drive aisle is also wetlands. So
I'm sorry, I just got feedback from somebody who's on Zoom that can't hear you.
Oh,
So you do need to speak into the microphone.
okay. Is that better?
We have a volume control. Those are.
That's what I'm looking for.
I mean, which would help here, but not necessarily help with the,
It's okay.
I just put a help desk ticket into IT, so.
If you could just, if you could just speak louder.
Switcher, yeah.
Switch, yes, it stays on.
It's on.
Yeah, we can hear you fine on Zoom.
Okay.
Thank you.
Also, people on their computers can also turn up their own volume, which could assist.
Okay, I'll try projecting more as well. So we're proposing to put concrete pad enclosed in the top of the site, approximately 44 feet away from the wetlands. We do have cables running from that battery unit back to the building electric room, which is in this corner here. So we've got a proposed trench work going through, so let me show it right here. Actually, maybe if I skip the like here we go. I'm not entirely sure if I can minimize space, but there's a new transformer going inside the building here, trenching along the drive aisle. Then we come up to close to the wetlands, and there's actually a raised drive aisle separating the wetlands. At this point, we're proposing to go overhead along, so we're not either digging up the raised drive aisle or impacting the wetlands to the side. And that's the closest we come to the wetlands, and that will be trimming tree branches along the side to carry the overhead cable. Dropping down on the north side and then underground to the best battery unit here in the pad in the north. It's got another secondary pad to full support. Two pads down here again, swapping the pad out and folding the pad into the connected to the overall, it's fairly simple. We have had several iterations of it, trying to move it away from the wetland side of things, going overhead to avoid exiting near the wetlands. There is a pole either side. This pole is 8 feet away from the wetlands, but again, that's a pole installation with construction coming up from the opposite side. We go to sediment and erosion control plan. We've got our fall for entering and exiting the site for all the traffic, including the traffic that is part of the active plastic operation. Trenching fossil drive aisle, and it's still active straw bales along the wetlands.
Say that again, please.
Still straw bale back, so fence along all the wetlands. That's this dark line here. And again, surrounding the entire works in the north. The new drive aisle that we're extending and replacing, I suppose, it is a gravel field there, but it's fairly overgrown. It's all gravel as well. So the only impervious structures are the pads for the battery unit and the auxiliary equipment. We've also proposed a jump back to the site. Replacing trees, shrubs. It's quite a pretty industrial site. So replacing. Here we go. Some new tree nipples here in the front, some arborvitaes and some dogwood up in the middle that use small trees that growing over time. So in short, that's the extent of the project, what we're proposing to do. With a few colleagues and clients who can answer any other questions, whether it be the battery unit or the engineering aspects. Happy to take questions.
Quick question, how long do you think this project will take to complete from start to finish?
Oh, it's 1 to 2 excavation, compact ground trenching. It's perfect.
Commissioner Smith, you have any questions?
So you show a bituminous, you show an existing driveway
Yes.
and it's bordered by the wetland. Where is the flow of water with relation to that existing driveway of gravel, right? There's no.
This is
See,
bituminous until it reaches the opposite side of the wetlands. There is a pipe culvert joining the two, so the flow is west to east, connecting the two. So that's been established for some time. It was a previous garden nursery. That's why there's quite a lot of pretty trees around, very ornamental in nature, and a few left behind that have overtaken this area to the north, which is currently underutilized. That's why it was a perfect location to put the battery unit hidden away site.
And you mentioned overhead.
Yes,
So these are on posts,
posts.
columns of some type?
Traditional wooden posts, as you would have any utilities in the street.
Uh-huh.
So fairly straightforward.
So telephone pole, I guess.
Yes, exactly,
So
exactly.
you'd be drilling for the telephone poles?
Yeah.
What other work would you do between those two wetlands?
Trim the tree,
Yeah.
lines, any branches, interfere with it.
Do we know what the current condition of that culvert is that runs underneath?
It seems to be flowing. We haven't inspected it, but there doesn't seem any blockage for those seem to come up the outside.
So then I think eventually we want to, we want a site visit, I think would be appropriate.
That could be if you want. Schedule it. So,
I did visit the site, post-storm. And everything is, there's no sign of the storm. We could certainly do a site visit, but there was nothing alarming.
Yeah, I'm been up at Cambridge, but I didn't go on the property, so it would be interesting to me now that I know where the wetlands are to view it, but I'm just mentioning that at some point before we conclude.
Any questions?
No, I'll agree with Commissioner Smith on that. I think a site, just to take a look, I want to see what kind of the branches that you said that you'd have to trim. I just want to kind of see what's going on there as well as the culvert underneath, just to see what kind of shape that's in.
Sure.
On that.
Excuse me, the battery storage unit is to supply that building with battery backup,
Correct.
and there's no plans at this point to support any other buildings or
It's also connected to the grid and
Eversource.
Eversource as well, so it's used for both. So it's there using both instances. If the building needs it, they can continue operation. It's better for the environment than a standard generator. Plus, it's also in use. Part of the use of the technology is to take electric into the battery at the peak production and dissipate it at peak use. So they're going to even iron out the peaks and troughs of energy supply.
So only supporting that building at this point.
At this point, I don't know if Greg can elaborate a little bit more on that, but it is connected to the grid and has the ability to feed back. Source right there. So, but for building wise, no, that it's designated for that building.
Okay, thank you.
Does staff have any more comments to add?
I did, where the pad is proposed right now, was there trees that are being removed in that area?
There was, yes, there was a tree.
I believe there were 3 trees in that area that would need to come down.
CO01 shows some trees in the pad area.
Yeah.
Marked by an X.
Here, there's 2 smaller ones. See, on the demo plan as well. Let's bring that up for you. So. There's a larger tree. And there's these shrubs here. This tree is the to remain. Oh. This one here, the to. That's to remain.
So in staff comments, I had made mention of the trees that are being removed and suggested native plants to replace the trees that were being removed, and I don't know if that's been addressed properly.
Okay.
Something for the commissioners to look at.
Right. Well, I mean, at this point, we're still just trying to determine what kind of, so they can bring that up in the.
So I'm struggling with this. We have put in 3 dogwoods in north, and also replacement maples and arborvitaes beside one of the smaller units. So 3 replacement trees. Here, here, and here. Just away from the battery unit, so it never grows into it. And then again, 2 maples either side of the transformer and the other utility unit. Arborvitae's here just for the screen.
Any other questions? Comments?
So there's a lot of existing facilities out here already. You have nitrogen, some other chemicals that you're using, any other liquid storage of any type?
Axle plastics are using.
Yeah.
They do use chemical. I'm not certain about what they use and what they store. I did walk through it. Very clean, tidy factory. But with battery unit,
Relevant to this specific application. but-
Well, in that they're liquid, if there's a spill, I'm wondering about the wetlands, which are right there. I just.
Right, but I mean, unless they plan on storing it out on that pad, like,
It is, do you see where the storage is? Right out, in that area, yeah. Right, I mean.
we're not doing anything.
I think
It's close.
batteries.
In proximity, yeah.
Right.
I think they're just storing the battery on that pad. I don't think they're storing anything from the.
Right.
It's just purely for the battery or electrical support equipment. It's got nothing to do with the day-to-day operation of the axle plastics.
I saw nitrogen and I thought of the liquid nitrogen being so close in proximity. And
Okay.
I didn't mean to delay the trigger.
No, sorry, just making sure we're staying.
But it'd be very interesting to go out there and see the facilities and, not necessarily the facilities, but the area.
Do we want to make a motion as to what type of hearing we want to have here? Anyone?
Do you think we need a public hearing?
I think personally, I think we're better off doing that. Just this is a relatively
Okay.
different technology, but
I'll make a motion. Public hearing.
a motion by Commissioner Smith to make this a public hearing.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Saban. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And, all right.
And if we could set up a site visit.
It's nice. Let's do that before so if it's a public hearing, the public hearing would get set for. Let me look at a calendar. For the October 9th meeting in order to do proper noticing. So a vote for a public hearing. The public hearing will be held on October 9th. Staff will do the legal noticing and we'll reach out to you. You guys have to send the letters to the abutters. We'll coordinate with you on next steps for those items. And in the meantime, over the next month, we'll schedule a site visit for any commissioner that's interested in going and visiting the site.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now moving on to public hearings, IWC 2024-4, file 1480, 1536 and 1564 Monroe Turnpike. Proposed 8-lot, single-family residential development and a new road crossing a wetland adjacent to wetlands and watercourse. Jan's Land Development, LLC applicant, J. Edwards Associate LLC representative. This is continued from our 8/28/24 meeting.
The applicant's engineer and our engineer have been going back and forth on the design of the culvert. They've been making really good progress and have been having really good conversations. The latest information was submitted going back and forth today. So we would like James DeMayo, the town of Monroe's engineer, to do a review and make sure he's comfortable with it before it gets fully presented to the commission, because we don't want you to, spend time on something that he's not necessarily going to review. So the applicant did submit a letter today asking to extend the public hearing to the next meeting. Their attorney is on Zoom tonight, if there's any questions or if we want him to formally make that request. However, we agreed that they will not be presenting any more additional information. However, it is a continuation of a public hearing, so we do still need to allow the public to speak, and we'd like to read the exhibits in the record, but we'll let Attorney Russo speak.
Yeah, let's let him make a couple comments and then we'll go from there.
Chair, members of the commission, Chris Russo with Russo and Rizzio LLC, offices at 10 Sasko Hill Road in Fairfield. I mean, Kathleen basically summarized it, all up, but from the last hearing, there were several questions, issues to address, but I think the main one was this culvert. And so, as Kathleen said, I think we made good progress on it. And James has a few remaining details I think that he wants, and our engineer has basically all those details for him. He'll have it if he doesn't have it already. He will have it by the end of this week, and then I think we'd be prepared for the next hearing to come forward and present it to you. But as Kathleen said, doesn't make sense to waste people's time if it ends up being something that can't be done. Just going through the whole description of it. So that's why we're requesting continuance tonight.
Okay, that's fine. Sounds good.
We also have been having discussions about potential conservation easement and the potential areas to present to the commission, several options which you guys can consider, which we can go through at the next meeting as well. So that's also been a conversation that we've been having.
Okay.
At this time, if it's appropriate, I'd like to read the exhibits into the record.
Sure.
Starting with exhibit number 35, the summary of design changes that was submitted to the commission at the last meeting on 8/28, the document date being August 25th, 2024. Letter from the neighbor in opposition, Samantha and Brian Theoret, dated August 28th, 2024. A letter in opposition from Kate Johnson, document date dated 8/28, 2024. The time extension letter allowing the public hearing to go to the September 11th to today, which is 14 days into the 65 days that the commission has in order to extend the public hearing with the cooperation of the applicant. From Attorney Christopher Russo, document date August 30th, 2024. An updated preliminary review by myself, Kathleen Gallagher, Planning and Zoning Administrator, dated September 10th, 2024. A letter in opposition from Paula Jelly, dated September 10th, 2024. Sorry, this direction. An opposition letter from Donna and Joseph Comcol, dated September 10th, 2024. Opposition letter from Susan York, dated September 11th, 2024. Opposition letter from Charles Coos, dated September 11th, 2024. An opposition letter from Barbara and William Shook, dated September 10th, 2024. And that concludes the exhibits that we had as of 4:30 or mid-afternoon today. If I apologize if anybody's letters came in this evening, it will be included to the record. It will get circulated. I just haven't checked my email since the end of the workday.
Okay. Thank you. So do we want to allow the public to make comments? Okay. Anybody in the chamber who would like to make a comment, please come forward, state your name and address, please, for the record.
Yes.
Is there a sign up sheet?
Yes.
There is one right there.
My name is Paula Jelly. I live at 290 Cottage Street. 1564 Monroe Turnpike surrounds me on 3 sides. I oppose this project. At the last public hearing, the soil scientist stated he could not explain his methods, but that he walked all over the property. To be scientific, it must be reproducible by other scientists. If you can't explain your methods to others, it's not reproducible, and therefore not science. The soil scientist also stated that he walked 1536 and 1564 Monroe Turnpike in October, but this is not vernal pool season. He also visited the property March 21st, 2024, and said it rained the night before. So you would expect vernal pools, but he did not. So I checked several historical weather sites. It did not rain any appreciable amount. The most I could find was 0.04, 0.04, and 0.07. Please see my attached charts, which Captain has, for March 20th and 21st. No appreciable rain. I also triangulated several area air points and extrapolated or inferred no appreciable rain on March 20th or 21st, 2024. I have attached a photograph of my side yard on March 21st at 5:26 p.m. It's a photo of a wood rack and the ground is clearly dry around it. I was carrying in wood and consolidating the wood racks. I never attempt to walk around or back and forth from the wood racks to the house after it rains, since it's so muddy and my boots would damage the lawn or get stuck in the mud. I have also attached charts from Monroe, March 23rd, where there was significant amount of rain, about 2.58 inches of rain. Several homeowners in Monroe posted on Monroe CT Residents Facebook page on March 24th their flooded backyards that are near wetlands. Please spare the possible homeowners on 1536 and 1564 Monroe Turnpike from the same fate. Do not build close to wetlands. I have finally figured out anecdotally why March and April are prime vernal pool months. In the state of Connecticut, on average, the ground freezes about 36 inches deep. The attached date to my letter, which prevents the rain water from draining in depressions. And that 36 inches of frozen ground takes a while to completely thaw, such as my north side of my side yard. My side yard had cooling for at least a month this past January when we had heavy rains of about 3 inches. If you only have a professional visit the site now and then, you don't get a clear picture of the land. You need to visit every day. The developer's paid expert said he visited the site after August 18th storm, the severe rainstorm, and did not see any ponding or vernal pools. Undoubtedly, the force of the daily water scoured the area and needs time to come back to equilibrium. And this time of year is not vernal pool period, time because the ground isn't frozen. An inland wetlands commissioner, after he got the attention of Dr. Michael Clements to ask him a question, made fun of his independent report, his only 3 pages report and 37 pages resume. It was inappropriate to make fun of Dr. Clements, and the commissioner was incorrect with his page number assessment. Out of 56-page document, 3.5 pages were written assessment and 11 pages supporting photos and their captions. The public has a right to know, not only know his educational background, but his body of work to verify that he is qualified. I request that a formal letter of apology be sent from the IWC to Dr. Clements. Does Monroe want to be known for killing off the last of the dusky salamanders in Fairfield County? Dr. Clements stated that there are a handful of spots left in Fairfield County that the dusky salamander inhabits. Please create a conservation for these wetlands and not an open space that humans could trample and further reduce the number of the dusky salamander. The eastern box turtle is listed as a species of special concern. And Dr. Clements listed a photograph of potential eastern box turtle habitat. I have seen an eastern box turtle on my property, so I'm not surprised that it could be found on 1536 and 1564 Monroe Turnpike. Please create a conservation for these wetlands and not just open space that humans should trample to further reduce the number of eastern box turtles. Thank you in advance for your consideration.
Is there anyone else in the chambers who'd like to speak? Anyone online who would like to make a comment?
I would like to make a comment.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Peg Kelly, 38 Downs Road, Monroe, Connecticut. I don't believe that anybody should be building on wetlands. Paula Jelly has done a lot of research and she has proven her point. But there is no reason in Monroe to build on a wetland. There are so many other properties in town. We are overcome with apartments, senior housing. We don't need any more in Monroe. We are not Bridgeport. We are Monroe. We're supposed to be a small town. I want to keep it that way. And I think the wetlands are very important. And that's it for now.
Sorry, could I have your name again? I didn't catch that.
Peg Kelly, Kelley is the last name.
And what's the first name?
Peg,
Peggy? Thank you.
P-E-G, yes.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else?
Yes, this is Kelly Hengis Carano again, and I would like to request that the letters be not just documented, but actually read into the meeting, please.
At this time, we are not going to be reading the letters into the record. They have been documented. They are available for public to review. I read them personally myself this afternoon, so we don't need to read them all out loud.
Where are they available? Are they available online?
They're available on the town website.
In the voting packet, in the agenda packet, where for every meeting.
In the Inland Wetland Commission section of the town website, there's a spot where you can see the agendas and the meeting packets and all the information that's associated with all of our meetings.
For every commission and every board for the town.
Yes.
They said it's their meeting packets, not agenda.
Meeting packets, correct, it's under meeting packets. And they repost everything from past meetings. So it's not just the new information from that meeting. They actually bring forward everything else. So it's consolidated for people to be able to look at. So they're not going back and forth between folders.
Right.
Thank you for saying that for those that don't know that. Can I ask why some of them were read in and now we're not? Because earlier we were reading in every letter.
Correct. In a good faith effort, people that were requesting for letters to be read into the record that weren't able to attend the meeting, we were doing that as a good, it was me personally asking to do that as a good faith effort for the community. However, it has been decided amongst all commissions moving forward that we are going to be consistent from commission to commission and that we are not going to be reading them into the record out loud, both for commissioners' times. All these commissioners are volunteers. They're residents of the town of Monroe that volunteer their time to these commissions. We do make sure that we have been extra considerate about making sure that the letters are in their packets before every meeting. Sometimes we've been printing additional ones for them on large projects such as this. It's posted online, and I think they've been emailed a couple of them too, just to put that in consideration. I know every single commission and boards reads every single one of these letters. They take the public comment very, very seriously. We very much appreciate civic engagement. But moving forward, we have made a decision amongst all the commissions that we will not be reading letters into the record out loud at the meeting.
And where is that posted on the Town of Monroe website when that decision was made?
it was discussed at several meetings. It was discussed at, if I'm speaking it publicly now, it's not something that we posted on the website. It was just something that was cited. Legally, we don't have to. So statutorily, we do not have to read it out loud into the record. Again, that was just something I was doing to try to be considerate of those that could not be here. However, again, due to people's time and also due to the intention of some of the letters that were being read into the record, we want to make sure that there's no connotation from whoever is reading it. And we want to make sure that the commissioners independently can read that on their own in the true words and tone of the original writer.
Can you tell me the date that that was decided?
I can look that up for you and let you know.
All right, great. Thank you.
Anybody else online?
Yes, Audrey Wellner, 33 Downs Road.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I have 2 points that I want to bring out, seeing that my letters have been tabled. Dr. Michael Clemens, I don't know where he got the idea that we were considering this area just on an endangered species status. The first idea about this area was that it was a migratory pathway for animals to come through to dens located in Webb Mountain. Now, so it has been changed solely to an endangered species area. I'm sure most people know the difference between the two. As far as I am aware, not all endangered species stay in one area all the time. The eagles from Chippewa Dam are here sometimes, and then they return to Chippewa. We are talking about closing off the migratory path for these animals that have used this path for many years. You're putting up 8 houses with 5-year construction that they can't get through. Their path is blocked and cut off completely so that they can't get through. The other point I wanted to make is after adjournment of the August meeting, 28th, I guess it was, someone on the committee spoke up and said, we, the committee, don't understand. Oh, no, we, the people, don't understand the committee members were elected into office. We were afraid of losing, they were afraid of losing their job. I'm sorry, but this train of thought is wrong.
Excuse me, I'd like to make a comment on that. None of us are elected. We're all volunteers and we're appointed. And I don't think anybody made that comment about losing our job. So I don't know if you heard that from a different commission, but that was not this commission.
We have a very, very difficult time getting people to volunteer to sit on commissions and boards. A very, very difficult time.
You've had your time. Excuse me, may I finish? Thank you. We are the ones, the public is the ones you people serve. I do feel sorry for those members, and it was your committee that said this, because I stay online and I heard it. So therefore, I'm very sorry that you feel that only the person who elected you or who you
Excuse me,
serve.
I need to make a clarification. We are not elected. We are appointed and we are volunteers. So again, if you
Yes, I
heard,
understand that
excuse
you're
me, I'm
appointed.
speaking. Thank you.
Yes, and so
I'm
was
not-
I.
Excuse me. We are not elected. So we are not here trying to save our jobs. So the comment that you keep making, that you say you heard us make some statement that we're here to save our jobs, is inaccurate. Okay, so I'm not going to let you continue to say that. So if you're going to continue to say things that are not true, then this conversation is over. So if you have something relevant that you want to state, please bring it forward, but I'm not going to let you stand here and say things that are not true. So if you'd like to continue and say something that's, contributing to this conversation, that's fine. Otherwise, I think we're done.
Well, there were probably about 5 to 10 people on after you closed the meeting, and that statement was made. And I'm just saying that we have our ideas. We don't like them tabled and filed away. We want to be heard.
Okay,
And
this is a forum that
you-
you're being heard. We have taken all of your comments, we've put them in the record, so we're not just ignoring them. We listen to everything that everybody's saying, okay?
Miss Shelley has read you back several regulations from your committee about things that are going on that you still are going forward with. And you haven't made any comment or any move toward reversing your thought on this. You're just going right ahead with it.
Okay, right now, all we are doing is listening to testimony. We are hearing what everybody has to say, including the applicant and all of the residents of Monroe. When it's time for us to deliberate, we will have conversations about what things are relevant, what things are not relevant. So the fact that we haven't changed our mind at this point in time is because it's not time for us to have that discussion yet. It's premature. So you got to give us an opportunity to listen to everybody before we make our comments and make a decision.
Well, I didn't
Okay.
make that statement, and I appreciate the trouble and the hard work you have to do, but you serve us, not the person who elected or voted or volunteered you into service on that committee. I understand that position more than anybody knows, but I do think that our answers to you are not being heard. And specifically with this being shut off so that the public during these meetings can't hear what the letter writers are writing in is not fair.
Once again, all those comments are available online for everybody to review. The fact that
Yes.
we were in the past reading them out loud was a courtesy, not a requirement. So at this point, right, we're saying across all commissions, all those bits of information are available online to everybody. It's not a secret, and we're unfortunately not going to do the courtesy of reading everything out loud because we'll be here till midnight like we were a couple weeks ago. So everything is available. We're not hiding anything. We're not keeping things secret. It's all there.
Okay, and so is the recording of the last meeting after the adjournment. So I suggest that people look it up because it was your committee. Thank you very much.
You have a comment?
If I could just comment, I sat next to the commissioner, I think she was referring to, and I heard clearly what he was saying. What he said was, we're not elected. I believe that's what he said. I'm sorry, he's not here tonight, but ma'am, we are not elected. We're here because we love Monroe. That's it. I can tell you, I definitely care, and I'm listening, and I've read every letter. And we'll see how it turns out, but I have a couple things to say later after public participation, but I just, please, we're trying to be fair to everybody, the landowner, as well as the residents, as well as the animals.
Is there anybody else online who would like to make a comment?
I would please. My name is Samantha Theoret. I live at 5 Sunrise Terrace.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you for your time. I do appreciate that this is a volunteer position, and the neighborhood where these houses are going to be built, we're passionate people, and sometimes I think that sort of we just get a little bit ahead of ourselves, but we do understand your position and that you have to be fair to all sides. So with that being said, I wanted to just mention the fact that I don't know if any of you live in our particular section of town, but we were very hard in the recent flooding. Cottage Street was closed off, Route 34 in multiple areas closed off. Part of 111 was completely shut off where people couldn't get home. Now, I only mention this in the realm of I can only imagine how much worse the water flow would have been the day had those homes have already been built and that all of those trees been removed. Yes, we specifically are here to talk about wetlands, and I'm sure that that rain.
Still there? I think we lost her. No, we'll give her
Give it just a
chance to maybe
second, see if she comes
come
A
back.
second, and we'll just
Can
make,
you hear me?
Yeah, you're back.
Yep.
All right, sorry, connection where I am is not that great. I was just to say that the erosion and destruction of the wetlands, um, due to the rain, would have been so much worse had those homes already been built and all of those trees that will down have already been taken out. And And also, I just want to piggyback off what was saying. My husband and I bought our first home in Monroe. We specifically chose Monroe in 2016 because of the way it is. It's a town, it's somewhat rural. And I see all of develop, whether it's 25 or 111. I understand progress is progress. There's so many different places in Monroe to build. I have to build. I mean, this should be a burner. Like of the just pollution alone, litter, just everything. I just want to say, can't be more against this proposed build. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else online who'd like to comment? Anyone else? Okay, anyone else in the chamber? Last chance.
I have one comment to make.
Okay.
We have been reading the letters that have been coming in. I do want to just make one clarification that development is permitted with the proper permits in wetlands and in upland review area for this project based on the disturbance that's required. A inland wetland commission approval is required in order for it to be a permitted action. Farming is a permitted as of right use. However, there's been many statements being said in the emails that that's the only thing that's allowed in a wetland. You still have to get a permit. Farming requires a permit. So I want to make sure that the community is aware of the fact that farming operations are not permitted without a permit from town staff. So you can get a permitted use as of right permit, which is a separate permit than like an inland wetland commission permit or even an agent approval, but it still has to be documented, the scope of work. And please come to our office and we are happy to walk you through that process and grant that a permit where appropriate.
Would I be able to speak now or is it too late?
State your name and address, please. Go ahead.
Kelly Hengus Carano, 19 Shoals Road in Monroe. Actually, after Miss Gallagher said that, we were worried about the Connecticut statute that states that a road can only be built on a wetlands if it is a farm road. And that is a Connecticut statute. And that was one of the sticking points that we discussed, simply because the Connecticut statute is supposed to supersede the Monroe statute, whichever is stricter, which was told to us by the commission in one of the public meetings. So that's what we were referring to. You cannot put a road over wetlands unless it is for a farm use. So I'm very confused as to why this is even going forward with trying to put a road in, especially because in 2000, the original application that had a road in it was not allowed. So that was my comment. Thank you. And thank you for volunteering, because as one of the volunteers for Monroe residents Facebook page, I volunteer about 6 hours a day. So I understand volunteering and I really appreciate all of you doing it. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, so we need to table this till the next meeting,
We
right?
need to continue the
Continue.
public hearing to September 25th.
Do we need a motion for that?
We did it last time, so let's keep it going.
Before that, there were maybe a couple of things we should say, if I could have a minute. And in planning, because I want to get this through. So there's a couple of things. We've all read the letters. There's a lot of them. Perhaps if we go through these letters, and there's a lot of common threads. Perhaps if we go through these letters, I don't know about you, but I've highlighted all the major concerns, things that I think we should say to the public with regard to our considerations. Because we're bound by law. We're serving the citizens of Monroe, but we should give them an answer. I, for one, and I know that the rest of you really appreciate these people taking the time to write the letters, taking time to be, and I'm not going for office here, okay? I'm not a politician, but I'm saying we owe them an answer. So perhaps we should go through maybe have a second meeting with just us where we go through each letter. I don't know what to do, but I mean, we got to give them some answers of why we're considering what they're saying and how we can address them. What are our boundaries? We owe them answers.
Any discussion that includes quorum, any discussion that would impact your decision-making has to be done in a public setting. So
Then we're gonna have to
part of the
one
public
long
hearing
meeting.
process.
But we could prepare, maybe the chair could prepare his responses and I don't know what to say, but I just want to go, I want to answer. I want to answer concisely and I want to give him the considerations. And I do thank you all for sticking with us, but I also thank the applicant for making modifications and trying to come back to us. I'm sorry that they're not here tonight.
If you've read through the letters and there's anything you would like the applicant to clarify
No.
based on the community's input.
You have been very clear. I don't have any problems. If we do,
Is it appropriate for us to put together a short list of, hey, we recognize these bullet points are a common thread. Is it appropriate for them to then address them at the next meeting?
The applicant to address them, you
Yes.
can ask the applicant questions. So, and we're still in a public hearing. So yes,
Right.
if you create a list of things and say,
Beforehand, like, can we submit something to them to be able to speak to them at the next meeting?
yeah, we would just make it an exhibit as part of the public record and the applicant would get a copy of that. Yeah, at that point, and we can,
I think,
as long as it's just full disclosure.
right, yeah, I think that's something we could probably come up with. And just we don't necessarily have to discuss those specific things. We just have to.
That's the
list
thing, you
them.
can't yes, individually you can do it,
Right.
but if you start speaking to each other, it gets, again.
No, that's what I'm saying. I don't want us to discuss what those topics are, other than, hey, I noticed these, and I'm making this up for the moment, these 4 things are a common theme. I think the applicant should address these, not getting into the hows, the whys, or whatever. It's just, hey, I saw these things. And then he could do the same thing. Oh, in addition to those, I found this one. And then these guys, same thing. Hey, well, I'd like these addressed. That way we can present that to the,
What I would
Okay.
suggest you do is if you could each individually
Right.
send me your list.
it's fine.
And I'm happy to put the list together based on all of your things, and then we can make it a part of the public record and send to the applicant.
That way, any questions or concerns that we have that again, we see as a theme, we can have them prepared to address it rather than having to answer questions and not know what, it'd be nice if they had the information at hand rather than having to try and figure it out on the spot. So.
But there are two categories. There are categories of things that we know that the public may not. And their complaint may be not considered relevant by maybe it's a zoning issue.
Well, so there are some points, correct. And one that I keep hearing, and I will address it at our discussion point, but is you can't build a house on a wetland. So they're not building houses on wetlands. It's not defined as a wetland in this specific area. So a lot of the comments have been, hey, you can't build houses in wetland. Well, you're right, you can't. And this applicant isn't suggesting that they're going to. They're staying away from the wetland. So that is a common theme. So that was a for example. And I think that's, is that
I
what
just think that we should have two lists. One is things that we are not sure of, that we want to ask the applicant, things that we can address ourselves. And then perhaps if it's not understood or accepted by the public, then the applicant is here next time and we can further question them. Okay?
Does all that seem reasonable to everybody here? Okay. Yeah. All right.
Two more points.
All right.
One, I wish that Dr. Clemens was here. When I read
He'll be at the next meeting.
his 37-page resume, I was thoroughly impressed. I apologize to you, Kelly, Mrs. Jelly, if you think that I laughed at him. I'll be glad to apologize to him next time. Okay, so let me tell you my background a little bit. I was an industrial engineer. I set up manufacturing plants. I looked through literally thousands, over 10,000 resumes and rated them. I've never seen a 27 or 37-page resume. It's fabulous. It's amazing what this guy does. You'd have to be an idiot to make fun of him. Mrs. Jelly, I'm not an idiot, and I'd be glad to. I'm sorry if he's. I'll be the first one to apologize.
Thank you very much.
But it doesn't matter. It matters if he was. So we can address it next week.
I wasn't the only one.
I apologize.
And I'm so sorry, but we've already gotten complaints by people that said that they can't hear people here, so I don't want to have discussion.
Bottom line is, I meant no offense, and I will clarify that with Dr. Clemens. I hope he's not offended. The third thing, last thing, let me go off my horse here. We talked about open space use last time. Oh, sorry. I have two more issues. We talked about open space use and not being, well, what is it? What isn't it? And Ryan was great. And he said, I want to be able to take walk through there and, and really enjoy the land. And I was like, what? Oh, we should only have four-legged animals in there. I was wrong. I've given a lot of thought. I put down 5 proposed requirements for when we say open space, what we want from the applicant. I would like to give you copies to take home to think about. I don't know how to deal with this, but I want this to be public record that, okay, when we say open space, this is what we mean.
So just so you know, legally, open space per our regulations is dedicated land to the town of Monroe. There's lots of ways open space can actually be utilized. It can be utilized for active recreation, passive recreation. What the discussion is can we put some sort of covenant or conservation easement over top of a portion of the land, either that also aligns with open space or maybe even goes beyond that has specific restrictions on it for these additional items so that the Conservation Commission is comfortable with it moving forward. For you to say your intentions either to the Planning and Zoning Commission or to the town does not guarantee that it's going to be implemented in a legal manner. So the best legal instrument for you to do that is to make a requirement of the approval, some sort of covenant or conservation easement, which outlines those things. And to have a draft written for this commission's review so that everybody's in agreement of the wording and that can be applied to the land. So there's 2 things for that. One, exactly what you're saying. What's the list of those goals and objectives? And then how do we write that in a way that accomplishes it? And then 2, what's truly that limit of that covenant or easement area?
All right, well, I saw that bylaws are on the agenda for general discussion, and I thought as a minimum to get this, and I'm not trying to rule the world, I'm just saying, when we say open space, this is what we specifically mean. I was just trying to define it.
But the subdivision is what is prompting the requirement for an open space, which is a planning and zoning requirement and is really dictated by planning and zoning. So because that's a planning and zoning issue, what we're suggesting is to accomplish your goals, let's put a conservation easement on top of the specific area of land to guarantee that what this commission wants that land to be used for is legally required and on the town of Monroe land records.
So what's my next action then?
We will take this into consideration. We make it a condition of the approval if you guys move forward with the approval process. So all of that information should be discussed in much more detail with the rest of the commission suggestions for restrictions.
I think it should come up for a public, public discussion as well. I don't think it should be just Rick Smith making up a list. It's not Rick Smith. It's me trying to kick it off. So however it happens, I think it should happen. And I think that these 5 should be part of it. Would you like to take a copy and pass it along?
So we'll include this as an exhibit.
So you have to put this in.
Yeah, please put it in. I welcome public input.
I just want to know if we have the legal authority to draft something like this.
So I've already started working with Attorney Russo. I haven't had a chance to review it, but he did send an example of a conservation easement that he's done with the town of Monroe. I also pulled a conservation easement or 2 that the town of Monroe has done in the last couple of years.
So the applicant has to draft it, not us.
Correct. Yeah, it's the applicants.
Okay, that's kind of where I was going.
Yeah,
We as a
we're-
commission can't necessarily
We can tell them what we
recommend.
want.
recommend, but it's up to them to.
No, we can tell them what we want. They can draft the wording, but it is still at the discretion of this commission to agree or disagree with the wording and the conservation easement to make sure it's accomplishing the goals that this commission wants to accomplish for the protection of that area.
Okay, and we have the authority to.
Yes, we have the authority to make a condition of the approval of conservation easement. Yes.
That's fair.
Okay.
Okay.
The last thing, and I think, and I want to mention this now because it has an effect on the solution that comes here. I don't want to give you a spoiler alert, but I do really appreciate what Dr. Clements said. And one of the things he said, and I probably pull it out, was that the span was the way to go. My thing, I'm an engineer, which is dangerous because I'm only an industrial engineer or a mechanical engineer or project. Yeah, I'm not a hydraulic engineer. But I did a lot of research on culvert design, on environmentally safe culvert design, and that's where I come with his span. Can they buy prefab concrete spans and put a road up in one day, with an open culvert, some design that's much more. My thing is, I don't want to cut the aorta of this wetland. This road, even though it's a lot less disturbance now, is still cutting through the aorta of this wetland. I will not give my approval as current stands with a 4-sided culvert. It's just based on my research. Maybe they can come and convince me of otherwise, but that's my position.
And we just don't have the expertise, neither the applicant's engineer nor the town's engineer is here to have further discussion related to that. But I do know that they're working together to come up with a potential solution that has additional environmental measures for the 4-sided culvert, which they plan on presenting at the next meeting.
Well, if you suggest that I have a conversation directly with James DeMayo or anything else,
They're presenting it at the next meeting.
I'm just saying where I'm coming from so that they're ready for it. That's it. Thank you. Sorry. Well, I'm not sorry at all.
No one's asking you to apologize.
No, I mean, I'm taking up time. But it's okay. This is a very important project. I look at this piece of land as a sanctuary. My house is a sanctuary. My house, I don't want mice or anything else messing it up. I don't want you in my sanctuary. So what I'm saying is I really value the wetlands, and it's a total picture. The wetlands does not exist without the animals, the insects, the the bacteria, the whole 9 yards. It's an ecosystem. It's complete. And so I'm very concerned with it. I think that the public is getting an attitude or an opinion that we don't care. And we do. So don't make me cry. I do care. And I think we all do. We're all here because we're volunteers. And oh, by the way, there is an open chair, especially if there's a Republican, right? Is it open chair? That doesn't matter. There's an open chair. If there's a conservationist out there. And what about Barbara, what about the Conservation and Water Conservation Commission? Can they give us any input?
They gave input to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay. Because I know Barbara's a great resident and she's very knowledgeable, and I'm looking for some outside residents to help us. So
I think a lot of the issues brought up are planning and zoning issues that need to be addressed. And as much as we would like to make comments on what would be a planning and zoning issue, that's the planning and zoning department to a commission to review that for those specific things. So, you know, our purview here is the wetland. And, you know, we want to stay in our lane and make sure that we're reviewing those things that we are responsible for, and nothing else. And I think that's enough for now. So
We still need to extend the public hearing.
correct. So we need a motion to extend the public hearing to the next, what was it? The
September 25th.
25th. Commissioner Smith made a motion to extend this to the 25th.
I will second.
We have a second by Commissioner Fernandez. All in favor? Aye. Okay.
thanks, boss.
All right.
Thanks, sir.
Moving on. We have nothing we can deliberate on because everything is public. We're done with participation at that. So
That's at your discretion.
Set it up for a while.
okay, I asked multiple times if there was anybody else and nobody chimed in. So if you can keep it quick, please.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Is that Kelly with your hand up?
Or didn't put it down.
Maybe she didn't put it. Kelly, one more chance.
Okay. We have no deliberations, no bond releases. Agent activities report? Anything in there?
I have two under enforcement. Two things to talk about. One is 116 Grist Mill Road. We have somebody who has been clearing within the upland review area, took down some major trees, excavating. It is clearly within the upland review area. I issued them a notice of violation. They hired a soil scientist, and they're going to have the wetlands delineated. But we know that it's within the upland review area because there's an active stream right there. So he's going to come together. He's in the process of coming together with a remediation plan. It's pretty extensive, and I think that my suggestion is that it comes to the commission and you guys could take a look at that.
He did say what he was doing with all this clearing?
Yes, he's proposing to be an apple orchard and have farming rights. So I'm looking.
Maybe a misinterpretation of the.
We're looking into thresholds and
that.
clarification.
Okay.
Yeah, and what constitutes that.
And we plan on reaching out to the deep so that we have.
Okay.
So that's in the process. I issued him the notice of violation back in August 15th, so it was a couple of weeks ago. Then we have 560, and that is Hammertown Road, not Hattertown like it says on the agenda. We have people, they are conducting work with an expired permit. So back in 2001, they've got an approval from the commission. So it was a regular hearing. It was a 20 by 25 addition to an existing residence that is 20 by 20. So the whole residence, the existing one is 20 by 20. They've proposed a 20 by 25 addition to that.
More than double.
Yep. In addition to that, there is a septic being put in. The galleys of the septic system is within 30 feet of the,
And just for clarification, it's not 2001, it's 2021, correct?
oh, I'm sorry, 2021. Yes.
I was gonna say that was
2021. I'm sorry, yes, 2021. The problem here is, so they've been approved through the commission to do this work. They did not meet the conditions of their approval. In January of 2022, they were supposed to make some changes, conditions of the approval, changes to the plan. They were all fairly minor changes that they needed to make. They failed to meet that deadline, and and because of that, it made their permit null and void. The actual approval is until 2026. But that application is null and void.
because they didn't
meet the conditions, right? So the question here is, and it was due to health reasons that they couldn't make these changes but they're actively working within, on that property. So I issued them a notice of violation, asked them to cease all activities until they can reapply. So the question here is, do we need to reapply and have them start from the beginning again?
Right.
All right, with a regular approval? Or because it's already gone through, do we issue it as an agent approval? And if we do issue it as a regular approval meeting with the commission, do we need to have them, the soil report and the wetland delineation was from 2021, so it's almost 4 years old. Do we need to have them, or do we want to have them redelineate those wetlands and a new soil report?
So just for clarification, Andrew did an excellent job. There's really three paths here that I believe we can legally go down. Like, we're not asking to jump a step or any of those things. All of the work is outside of 25 feet of a wetland. The reason it was originally brought to this commission was just the intensity of the work, which it's an addition to a building. So technically, because it's outside of 25 feet, which is really the threshold that we usually use for residential of what's an agent approval or not an agent approval, I think as staff, we would be comfortable issuing it as an agent approval if the commission was comfortable with that. However, this commission did not grant the original approval. I don't think anybody here was sitting on 2021. So we're happy to bring it back to the commission, of which chance you can at that time vote to make it an agent approval and then kick it back down to staff after this commission has a chance to review it if you deem appropriate, or you can make them go through the entire inland wetland review process again, regular hearing, public hearing, at that time after you review the entirety of the scope of work. And
I'm okay with the previous suggestion. Let us all review it because none of us have seen it.
understood.
And if it all seems to make sense, and I think we let you guys, assuming they do everything that they were supposed to do the last time, and there aren't any changes beyond, hey, we're going to get this right this time. It's up to me, but I mean, it's not just up to me, but if you guys are okay with letting staff go down that path, as long as we can see some of those details.
What I would like to do is, if it's coming to you, I want them to do the full application. I want them to fill out the form. I want them to give us updated plans with, potentially the changes of the potential conditions of it, and then go through a formal process. And at that time, when it comes in front of you for acceptance and determination of a regular public hearing, if you so choose, you could make that an agent approval at that time. Or vote to go through.
I think that's fine.
Fine. Do they start with, as far as the soil report and the wetland delineation, are we okay with using what has already been approved?
I'm okay if it's within 5 years.
It is within 5 years.
I'm generally okay, unless
I think
anybody else.
it's okay. Yeah, I mean, you said it's beyond 25 feet anyway.
Correct, exactly. So like
It's not like it's right on the edge.
100%. So even if the wetlands were to move a couple feet one way or the other, it's not going to substantially change the extent of the review.
The galleys are 30 feet off and the new addition is 50 feet off.
Right. So
It's really more the galleys doing, right.
then I think we take your recommendation.
Okay.
So,
I'm assuming they have a permit for the septic.
They do. Yes. Yes. All of that has been approved.
Those things are all.
they're already in place anyway. Yeah. So.
They just missed their deadline.
Right.
And it sounded like they had some hardship, so.
Right. I
To make
mean,
them go through.
yeah, so we need to review it. So that's fine.
I agree.
Okay. Great.
Fair.
Okay. That's all I had.
Do we want to update anything about, what was that address, the woman's driveway?
Oh, yes. 72 Brookside and number 18 Brookside.
Oh, you have that down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Want to wait till we get down there?
Whole discussion.
Okay, we'll wait till we get down there. That's fine. Okay. All right, then moving on. No correspondence. All right, so now we're into general discussions. All right. Minutes for the 8/28 meeting.
Were they included in this, in the packet that we received? Because I did not see them.
We didn't get a packet.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
Yeah, I mean, what was here?
No, I didn't see them on the web either.
Yeah, so I guess we'll have to pause those till the next time. So much.
It's all up to see what happens.
Minutes were not on the web.
You know what? Maybe,
They have to get copies of it. So either Carrie usually sends it to the secretary. So can you just, but every commissioner needs to get a copy of it. So can you just follow through on that
We'll
And we'll have to vote on them the next
at the
time.
next meeting, which is,
I had the email, I went over them with Carrie, but I don't have them physically.
yeah, and everybody, I want everybody to see them. It's not just.
All right, so that's fine. We'll get to that next time. All right, then we have bylaws discussion. I see the printout from page 4 of 9 section where we're discussing, or I guess we agreed to change the meeting time to 6:30 from 7.
So this is just, I still say let's vote on it a little later in the year, but this is just if this was the intent, just because it doesn't apply to the meetings up until
Right.
January
And
20.
I'll be here to.
At one point, there was discussion about additional information related to like, you will only have a second meeting if there's new information being proposed, but I think we discussed at the last meeting that we're gonna try to hear things at both the first and the second meeting of the month to see if that helps us, progress some projects along in a more timely manner. And if at some reason we think that doesn't make sense or it does make sense, we can adjust some things at that time. So at the moment, we just want to be clear that right now the bylaws is just to change that time. I did reach out to the town attorney asking him to review the request of the adding an additional item that would allow a public hearing to be requested by the applicant. I also worked with staff. Our secretary, Carrie, did a wonderful job at looking through some of our records, and she had found that this discussion had been basically investigated by staff and the commission in years past in 2017. And basically, and the statutes haven't changed at this point, but what DEEP has explained is that in 1996, there's a section of the Inland Wetland Watercourse Act that was amended to condition the holding of the public hearing on applications. The legislator believed municipal inland wetland agencies were scheduling public hearings on applications irrespective of the need. So again, just pushing things to a public hearing to kind of move it along, or that there was no need for it. This section now states, and this is still true, the Inland Wetland Agency shall not hold a public hearing on such applications unless the Inland Wetland Agency determines. And then there's a list of basically 3 circumstances, which we've always talked about, which is like public interest, significant impact, things of that nature. Therefore, upon receipt of the application, the Inland Wetland Agency should determine if one of the 3 circumstances has been met, which necessitates the scheduling of the public hearing. Note that the statutory language says, unless the Inland Wetland Agency determines, municipal staff can make a recommendation to hold or not hold a public hearing based on the initial review of the application, but determination should be made by the agency. So we've talked about like, is there ways that the staff can say it needs to be a public hearing and just schedule it? DEEP is saying that that is not permitted. And that it has to be in accordance with chapter 87D, which requires a notice of public hearing at specific intervals and things of that nature. So basically, it's just making the point that you can't receive the date of receipt. The agency can't then open the public hearing at that same, the agency can't receive the application, make the determination of the public hearing or regular hearing, and then open it at that same meeting because there's requirements for the residents to be able to request a public hearing if they
The
get.
shorter answer is no, it is what it
The
is.
short answer is the way we've been doing it is the way we've been doing it. So the suggestions that were made in the past, at the past meeting, which was, let's try to start hearing new things potentially at a second meeting to move things along so we don't have to wait till the first meeting of the next month. And can staff start to draft resolutions so that when we close the public hearing, we are one step ahead to maybe make the approval that night if we feel like that's appropriate. We can maybe move the approval process along. We can pick up maybe 2 weeks, here or there. But unfortunately, as it relates to the way we've been handling the public hearing, regular hearing process, there's not much we can do to change it.
Okay. Well, I thank you for exploring it in great depths.
We tried.
I mean, sometimes the logic doesn't always make sense, but it is what it is. Okay, public outreach.
We keep it on here because it's continued to be on here. When the dust has settled, we'll maybe revisit it again. I also think that there's been discussions about it has to be done in the wintertime. This had to do with native species. Is that what this had to do with? And go that way. Also, just for overlap, does some discussion about native species coming from the Conservation Commission. They are actually coming to the Planning and Zoning Subcommittee at some point over the next couple of months to discuss potential regulation changes to the zoning regulations. So just to keep you aware that there is some of those discussions happening.
All right, lastly, 72 Brookside.
So 72 Brookside is associated also with 18 Brookside. They're one and the same. They're separate properties, but the road leading up to the same washout. So what I did was issue them an agent approval to return their properties back to the pre-storm conditions. It does require quite a bit of work. It was a pretty significant break in the stream that was there.
Has that work commenced?
That work is going to start tomorrow, and I have a pre-construction meeting with the excavator tomorrow to talk about, what we could do to, minimize the amount of sediment washing out. We're talking about a sediment retention pond, building that first before anything else takes place. Silt fences where they might be necessary, but it's, we're talking about active water course.
Right.
So we have, and I'll be making frequent stops, site visits.
Right.
To check on that there's no spills, no leaks.
That's good.
But it's it's a significant amount of fill that's going to be needed to fix her driveway, which is really the only way into her property.
Right.
So she's out of her property until she can fix this road. So hopefully it's going to start tomorrow, and hopefully it'll be done pretty quickly. But
I was just gonna ask if they give you.
I'm thinking it's probably 2-3
That
weeks.
sounds about right.
Yeah. Any questions on that? Any concerns? No.
So just document it.
I've got pictures, I've got a file going, I've got pictures, I did an agent approval, so the paperwork is there. I waived all fees as far as,
We discussed that. That's,
no application.
we've got to do everything we can to help these people.
Yeah, and it's 2 properties that were affected by
Yeah.
it. So.
Okay.
Do they need a permit to do any of this work?
They're not in a floodplain, so they don't need a floodplain.
So just your agent
permit.
approval is.
So long as the commission gives me permission to do an agent
Yeah, that's-
approval on it, we can,
Go ahead.
I issued them a notice to proceed.
Right.
Thank you.
I think we're good.
So I'll make a motion to pat you on the back. Andrew, you're doing a great job. Thank you for taking some weight off of the person next to you And the guys down there, the rest of us, we really appreciate it. Thank you for being diligent.
You're welcome.
Anything else? You seem like you have one more comment.
One more thing, and it's only because if there's action, it should be taken between now and the next time. One of the letters, Exhibit 29 from the Zorenas, notes that we have already been disturbed by construction. I'm sorry, I'm referring to 1536 and
1564. Yeah.
I'm gonna entertain this a little bit because it's out of order, but I'm assuming it doesn't actually have to do with the project. It has to do with something else you want to follow up on. Like it can't relate.
Oh, I'm
to the
sorry.
Project.
If it relates to the project.
But if
we
they
can't-
said something about something else in town that you want us to.
It's something I want Thomas to clarify, because we don't all have to go up there, but it says here, we have already been disturbed by construction vehicles, dirt and damage and blasting. They're not talking about our property.
They can't, and there's no.
Just because,
Yeah, no, that's okay. That question.
sorry, I don't mean to.
No, if it has to do with something else, with, yeah, like stuff happening in town.
Yeah, I read that too and was wondering what the blasting was all about. I didn't know if they meant they started work on the site.
That's how I interpreted it, and I said, no, can't be.
It must be something else.
I know someone had mentioned, about construction vehicles at one of the public hearings.
It was last meeting.
Yeah, someone had mentioned something about that, but I don't think it was.
Is that related to the Route 34 repairs?
We're not actually quite sure what that was necessarily,
Okay.
in relationship to, but it wasn't like related construction vehicles.
Rest assured, no work has been
Yeah,
started.
you have recently, been on the
I was
site.
on site. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm trying to look to see if there's anything else in the area. However, I mean, there has been, work in town. There was blasting at 205 Monroe Turnpike for Aldi in the self-storage facility that is going to be located in the rear. I know that there is blasting associated with 1271 Monroe Turnpike. So there is blasting that's happening in town. I will say that they all do get proper blasting permits from the fire marshal. Also, the Planning and Zoning Commission has started putting additional restrictions on it that includes an additional letter in addition to what they're required as part of the blasting permit. A letter that goes out that gives them like a general time frame of when it's going to happen. The biggest complaints we get related to blasting isn't
We told.
that they're blasting, it's that they just didn't know when it was gonna happen. Like they're willing to keep their kids inside. If they know that blasting's gonna happen over the next week, like they're willing to, whatever, and to understand what the whistle means, because if a whistle blows once, it means one thing, twice, it means another thing, like it's like the time period going down. So we have been trying to listen to their concerns and respond to that. And then I will make, I know this has already been said, but I'm gonna say it again. You guys are volunteers. This is a lovely commission. I also work with the Zoning Board of Appeals, which is awesome, and ARB, and I handle the Planning and Zoning Commission as well. And every single person on those commissions are extraordinarily dedicated and thoughtful and take a lot of time, effort, and energy, and literally go above and beyond to make sure we meet quorum and change their schedules and do all of those things. So very much thank you to you guys and to everybody else. Planning and Zoning Commission is elected. I will make that clarification, but they are extraordinarily dedicated and we're, always very appreciative to.
They're the only elected commission?
They're the only elected commission.
They get paid?
No.
Important point.
Can I adjourn us now?
Yes.
We're adjourned.
Yeah.
Thank you.